Well, hello, Lisa. This is Sharon on the West Coast. I think we're live.
Awesome. Hello, Sharon. As you know, this is Lisa on the East Coast. I apologize for making us a few minutes late.
Oh, we did say we're going to be on the ish system.
I sure, I'm so,
Technology,
I so
technology requires a little ish.
it truly does. It truly does. I was scheduled to be on a Facebook Live with another group a couple of days ago, and they could not get it together. And so the lady hopped off a live, signed up for a trial or something of Be Live, and sent out a message to everybody who had registered and told everybody we're moving to Be Live. It was amazing. But so, and it started at least 20 minutes late. So we're doing good.
Okay. Well, we just want to welcome everybody here to Coast Beauty. And as we said, I am Sharon Davis on the West Coast.
And I am Arlita Lisa Washington on the East Coast. Glad you're on us.
Together we are Coast
to Coast Beauty.
That's us. So today we're talking about difficult people.
Hot topic.
Oh my goodness, can you believe it? Now, I don't personally have any experience with difficult people.
No, you don't. Wink, wink.
Yeah, because we had people asking us, we had asked what people want to talk about, want to hear us talk about, and getting a little tongue-tied. And there was a couple of topics that came up, which was teenagers and mother-in-laws.
Yes.
So we put them in one category, which is difficult people, because we can probably cover all of that. Although this could be a 4-part series.
Girl, more than that. Okay. Because they could be difficult neighbors. It could be difficult people you meet in line at the checkout line at the grocery store. It could be difficult people in traffic who cut you off and then, throw you that sign that says you're number one. All of those and more.
Yes. Okay. Well, I have to say, in the category of, I'll start with mother-in-laws. Dare I
do that?
As being a mother-in-law, my goodness. It's interesting because I actually became a mother-in-law twice in 1 year. Both of my kids got married 10 years ago. My son is actually on his anniversary honeymoon thing right now. That he got married on the 10th of, well, first my daughter got married February 10th, and then my son got married November 10th. And they planned it that way. When he found out what her date was, he said, you know what? I'm going to do exactly the same thing. So the month, 2 months before it ends and 2 months before it begins, they have the same anniversary. So I became a mother-in-law twice in the same year. Mm-hmm. And so me being being me, I decided to write out a mother-in-law policy for myself.
I can't wait to hear it.
So my mother-in-law policy is that I'm always available, but I will not be intrusive. Okay. And that includes, I don't show up at your house. Well, I do show up at my daughter's house. I have done that to my daughter, where she wasn't feeling well, and I just popped in and but my part of my policy is I will always call before I come. Mm-hmm. I will not get involved with your arguments. I will listen and be supportive, but I will try as hard as possible to keep my opinion to myself.
Wow.
So that's kind of a big task for me.
I'll say. I'm sorry, Sharon.
Pardon me?
Are you hearing an echo?
I wasn't. No.
Okay.
Maybe but I know often when we get off and I watch it later, when you say that there is an echo, I'm just not hearing it.
Well, my husband did say, my kids said that I have the CIA ears, which brings, which is why I probably should take the teenage ones because
Okay.
they insisted, because they were teenagers back during the time when, after 9/11 and the whole hunting bin Laden thing. And I remember passing by the hallway past their bedrooms one day, and they were in there arguing about something they didn't want to do that I told them to do. And they were like, oh, they should hire her to go find bin Laden. She hears everything, she sees anything. There's not a hole on earth that deep enough for her to for him to hide in where she can't find him. And they said that I had CIA ears because I guess if they said something, that's a cute little size though. But I never made a contract as far as mother is concerned.
Coming in out. Oh no.
I'm coming in.
You're coming in out, but you're back now. So
Oh wow.
the
Okay.
audio.
It's the audio. Well,
Yeah.
the echo is down, but now the audio is up and down. I have no idea what the situation is. According to my computer, I'm at maximum bandwidth. So we will see. Just don't wait too long. Tell me if I go out again, okay?
Yeah, well, we're gonna have to do some testings because I think that's kind of been an ongoing thing. But I got the same thing from my kids. My son told my daughter, "You can't win. She's got spies everywhere, and she's got eyes in the back of her head. So you can't win."
Yes, but I will say this. I'm going to share something that I learned years ago. Sharon, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, great. And if you stop hearing me, give me a sign, okay, that I can see. Okay.
Okay.
Just say, do this and let me know. Okay. All right. So I learned something years ago. I was in a psych class, and this person, we were doing question and answer, and this person was explaining why your relationships, you can't blame other people for difficult relationships, and it's all your responsibility. And so there was a lot of back and forth, and finally he went to the board and he did a demonstration to explain why, even if only one person, the argument was it takes two to improve a relationship, and he said no, one person could do it. And so he went to the board and he drew a little illustration. And I'm no artist, but I'm going to try to duplicate that drawing that he made for us. It actually turned out to be one of the best things that I had heard that helped me take responsibility for improving relationships in my life. And so I don't know, I'm going to see if I can get this up there. And he likened it to, this is you going up and down, and this is the other person going horizontal from left to right. And he said the area where you are intersected and covered is your area of agreement. It's where you kind of are on the same page. You can get along. It's the area where you don't have any clashing. And even if it's a very small area, that area is your area of common interest, common, the area where you get along. And he explained that as you personally grow, the area that you I did this correct. I did this wrong. Okay. As you personally grow, the area that you, let me see if I can get this right. Okay. So that's you in the dark going up and down. It is them at the bottom going crossways from left to right. And the area where you cross is where you get along. And he said, but if you start growing, for instance, you now cover more of the common area. You grew, they didn't. And then you grow some more, and you have more area where you get along and where you can at least agree or get along even if you don't like each other. And he just kept on going, and he showed that if you just make it your point to keep growing, eventually your growth will overtake any area of tension. And he said it might not ever be perfect, but that is why you absolutely can improve a relationship with another person just by your growth, because your tolerance grows as you grow, your level of understanding grows as you grow, your empathy, everything that you grow as a person helps cover over whatever is lacking in the other person. And so because I saw that illustration, I started trying to apply it, and it was amazing. It was really amazing when I would meet somebody that made me gnash my teeth, and steam would come out of my ears, and my eyes would go blood red. I wanted to fight. So I started saying, okay, I need to just put this on hold, grow some more, and then wait to see if my growth actually helps me get along better with this other person. And over the years, I promise you, it absolutely works. It might not ever be 100%, but it'll get to a point where that person that used to make you blow a gasket doesn't have the power to affect you like that anymore. And it's not because they changed. It was because you made a change or a difference.
You know, there's two things that I always would say to my clients is that, they want to say that, it takes two to tangle or whatever. But there's two things. One is that we tend to continuously go to a person who does not have what we are going to them for. And I use the example of Payless Shoe Store. I don't know if they have that out there, but I think it's, well, if you go to Payless Shoe Store for a gallon of milk, you're not going to get it. They do not have it. No matter how many times you go to Payless Shoe Store for a gallon of milk, they will never have it. And there are some people like that. We want something from a person, and we want to kind of force them to be able to give it to us, and they can't. They just don't have it to give. And so if we continue to shop for milk at Payless Shoe Store, we are doing ourselves a disservice, and we're doing that other person a disservice. That doesn't mean they're a bad person. It's just that they just don't have that particular thing that we're needing from them to give. Now, they may be wonderful in other areas, but that is just the way it is. And we have to accept that and choose to either change how we interact with them or not interact with them. But it's our decision. And the other thing was is that when we continuously do the same thing, like if you go to the grocery store again, how many times do you see a mother who's in there just yelling at her kids, and she's, stop, no, don't, get over here, what did I tell you? Those kids do not even hear her voice because they've heard that yelling for so long. It's part of the atmosphere. They do not take heed to it. But I promise you, if that same mother lowers her voice and talks very specifically, those kids are going to go, and they're going to stop. They're going to their ears are going to perk up. They're going to listen, and they're going to hear you because you're doing something different that lets them know this is different. Now, of course, all kids have that thing when they know when their parents have gotten to that last little bit, and that the tone and the look and everything lets them know, okay, you've gone too far. But on a day-to-day basis, if you are just not getting any kind of effect with someone, it's your job to make the changes that you need to make to change that and not blame it on the other person.
I agree. most of the there are a couple of terms when it comes to I'm again going to go to the children. There are a couple of times in a child's life where there are notorious phrases for describing their behavior. The terrible twos and the even more terrible teens. Okay, so being the mother of 5 sons, the terrible twos were not that terrible to me because, I had a certain amount of rules and structure in our family life that I didn't, back down off of. And I think kids need structure. I think that they really are screaming and hollering and begging you to give them some structure and some guidance in their life. When you let them have a free for all, you're letting the animals run the farm. So, and I don't mean that in a harmful way. So, but when it comes to teenagers, oh my goodness, it's a whole new ball game. And especially if you have more than one. I can tell you something that I've seen over and over again. A mom with 2 or more children who tries to relate to both or all of them exactly the same. And it causes frustrations in the kids. It causes frustrations in the parent. It causes frustration in every area of life. And I know some in this day and age, parents are overwhelmed, overworked, underpaid, underappreciated, don't have enough time. And it can be easy to try the one size fits all blanket when it comes to dealing with teens and even 2-year-olds. Okay, because I will promise you that almost every single one of my 2-year-olds were different. I had one that came here and he was determined to show me that no did not mean no. Then I had a couple who understood no from the very beginning, and a couple who would just push it to test it and see. But they were all different. And when it came to teenage years, it was the same thing. I'm not gonna lie. I thought when it first started, the first one hit teen and the second one, and they were stair step 1, 2, 3, and they seemed to hit teens all right behind the other. By the time that 3rd year came, I thought I was gonna go crazy, and then I was like, no, y'all ain't gonna run me crazy. I might run y'all somewhere, but you ain't gonna run me crazy. So I started looking for ways to deal with them. I started paying more attention to their personality and how I react to them. And I started trying, and I know I wasn't a perfect parent, but I did understand that they were individual people. I didn't want anybody to treat me like I was a number, and I didn't want to treat them like they were a number. But to parents, I'm gonna tell you right now, your children are likely to think you are the enemy. That's all there is to it. They are likely to think you're the enemy. It's a rite of passage for them to push the envelope, for them to shove and see how far you will go. It's a rite of passage for them to test you, even to some crazy limits, to see if you will still love them anyway, to see if they are worthy. If you think that they are worthy of unconditional love through the good, the bad, and the ugly, they will test you. And
I actually say to parents that is their job, is to continuously negotiate for more freedom. They may not recognize that's what they're doing, but that's what it is they have to, because that's the learning stages that they're going through. And who best to teach them and to support them through it than our parents? They're supposed to constantly be pushing that envelope to see what more can I do? What more responsibility can I take on? How much freedom can I expect right now? And that's when we as parents get into trouble, is when we want to just hold on. And yeah, we want to protect. We want to keep them in the little stage of the babyhood. I even said to my daughter-in-law a couple years ago, I think it was Mother's Day or something, I said, I want my son back. And she thought I was like, her husband. I don't want her husband back. I want my baby back. My little 7-year-old, not that guy. That's your husband.
You can have him. He's yours.
He's not. No. That's not who I'm talking about. But I used to use this story of Sharice and Raymond, an example of what you were saying about the differences. That You can't treat two kids the same. They were in karate class. Now, Raymond wanted to take karate class because he always wanted to do this. Now, Sharice, who was 3 years younger and very tough, was not going to let her brother know how to fight, and she didn't know. So she had insisted she had to go. I mean, she's in ballet, but she still got to take karate class with her brother. So we're late one day. We come in, and so Raymond comes in the door. He stands there for a moment. He looks around. He sees what everybody's doing. He goes to the back of the room, gets in line, and just starts doing what everybody else does. That's one kid. The other one busts through the swinging doors, goes right up to the front of the room, punches the sensei in the knees, and said, "What? You started without me?" How could you possibly raise those two people the same?
In the same house.
They're in the same house, but you have to deal with them differently, obviously.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you have to observe the personalities and go with what their core is.
That's so true. I confess that my mom and I used to have a little push and shove, and sometimes even a big push and shove, personality wise, for that same reason. My mom, she had 14 kids. How do you deal with 14 different personalities? It's easier to just treat everybody the same. But honestly, I was the black sheep in the family, the ugly duckling, whatever you want to call it, the one that was just different. All of us were different, but I was way different. And I know I gave her gray hairs, but I know I pushed the envelope, but I know that I needed something that was intrinsically me. And it would have taken a lot of extra time and more attention on her part to figure it out. And, when I was young, I was angry about it. As I got older and I got kids of my own, I started to understand she did the best she could. Okay. Because I can't even figure out how I did 5 and she had 14. Good gracious. What? It blows the mind. But because I had that experience, it made me at least try with my own. And, one thing I'll say about parenting is you get into a cycle of parenting. You're either going to parent like your parent did, or it was going to be such a traumatic experience that you go the exact opposite, when in fact, the true road is somewhere in between. Okay, because the worst parent did some things right and the best parent did some things wrong. So rather than, follow nature, which is to say, oh, my parents were really good, I'm going to do exactly like them. Or even if it's unconscious, you do it. Or my parents, they did so much stuff bad, I'm never going to be like them. You got to find somewhere in the middle. And as I said, it's a lifetime thing, because I have grown kids and it's still a lifetime thing. But don't try to shove the terrible twos into a box. And don't try to shove the terrible teens into a box. And I'm sorry, when they get to be grown-ups, you wish you had the teens and the twos back, right? You'd be like, where did it go? It went by so fast. When you're in it, sometimes you're too frustrated to enjoy it. So I would encourage you to make memories. Even if you argue a little bit or they push the envelope a little bit, make memories. It's a parent's job to help their children make memories so that when they get grown, they realize it wasn't all bad and it wasn't all good, but it wasn't all bad. And now you've broken that cycle and they get to pass that on to future generations. When you change one generation, you change all the rest of the generations. So it's so worth the investment in the time and in the energy. And that even applies a little bit to in-laws, but I'm going to let you speak before I go there. You see, I try to stay away from in-laws as much as possible.
I see you did. Well, I have had 2 mother-in-laws, okay?
Okay.
And I credit my first mother-in-law really, truly to being the mother that I became. Because my mom was just not the domestic, and I was the oldest. So, I was the trial and error. Me and my sister that's right under me, we were the trial and error, but she caught on as the others came along. But by then I was grown, so I had to figure that out. But I spent a lot of time with my first mother-in-law, and she was just, telling me little things like how to make memories, and you know, how, just so many things that I just, didn't come across to me from my mother. And as I said before, there's always been women who have come into my life just when I needed them, that poured into me what I needed, and she was definitely one of them. And my second mother-in-law, I actually, gave her a whole list of things of why she wouldn't want me as her daughter-in-law when we decided that we were going to get married. Because this was, my second marriage. My kids were grown, and I was not. I told her, you're not going to get any grandkids, because if he wants a delivery, you got to call FedEx. I mean, it was just on and on. I'm older than him, and this, she's like, and for every, negative I gave her, she gave me a positive why that fit perfectly with her son. And I'm like, oh, they're just trying to get rid of him. No. But I absolutely just chose not to have mother-in-law trouble, because I realized that the person I'm hurting the most would be my husband, whether it was the first one or the second one. It would hurt him. So I chose to back down on situations. I remember the first, like, Mother's Day after we got married, he was, all of a sudden he got so depressed. I'm like, what's the matter? Well, it's Mother's Day, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm like, you go see your mother. My kids are doing something with me. You go, that's fine. I mean, I don't mind sharing. I mean, I'm not at the point in my life where I have to have this person tied to me. And I think that's where it becomes the problem, is that we forget where we began and the other person, or we end and the other person begins. Ooh. And we then have to have them connected to us. And that includes having power and control over them, over their thoughts, their actions, and putting all that negativity into the mix.
That pressure. Choose. Yeah. It's me or her. Choose. That is so, oh my goodness. That is so, that is such a difficult and not cool place for anybody to be. And, even vice versa, it could be the and not just your husband's mother, but, your mother. Mm-hmm. I will say this, I didn't learn this from my immediate family. I learned this from my husband. I too had two mother-in-laws. My first mother-in-law is still alive, and out of respect for that, I'm going to end that conversation right there.
Okay.
I'm watching. Okay.
I don't know what to say. Okay. So yeah,
respect. Okay, respect. That's what that is. That is respect. Okay. Now, second mother-in-law was one that I thought, oh my God, I will never live up to this woman. Okay. Mm-hmm. I will never live up to the feeling that she gave to me. I probably will never live up to it. She was just such a natural that before I met her, a phone conversation, she said, call me mom. And if my son loves you, and I know he does, then it means you're a beautiful person, because I know I don't have, how many moms would like their sons say that?
Your vibe is coming out.
Oh my God. I don't know how much of that got heard. I said, my second mother-in-law,
we got that part.
Loved me.
It just started. It just started.
All right. So that being said, I will end it by saying she was the mother of my heart. And I don't think there's any higher accolade that you could pay to a mom-in-law than to say she was the mother of my heart. Okay. The day she died, it broke my heart. I can't even talk about it now. My heart. Yes, totally. But There's something that I want to say about both of them. Every mother, well, it was a choice how I was able to deal with each one. And it's always going to be a choice. If you have a mother-in-law and she's not exactly your ideal person, you still have a choice. Okay, respect. I remember when I was little, my mom would always, I mean, the scripture, I don't want to get preachy. She would always say, honor your mother and your father, which is the first commandment with a promise. She would quote that thing over and over and over and over. And I at an early age equated honoring with respect. And so it became when I, and so my, if you honor your parents, the in-law parents-in-laws are worthy of no less respect to me.
Right. Yeah.
And if you can find it in your heart to do that, then you don't have to agree on every situation. But you also don't have to make every situation a competition. Okay, that person's mom, always will be, or dad always will be. There's nothing that is going to sever that. Life, death, heaven. That is that person's parent. And so to get into a competition with it, I would encourage you, if you find yourself getting into competitions with your in-laws, that you look inward. Yeah, they may be the most terrible person on earth, but there is something you can do to make that situation better. And by doing it, you make your spouse situation better. You make your relationship better. You make and don't think the kids aren't watching. You make the lessons that you are showing the kids better. And again, just like I said, generations later, this situation will be improved because you were the bigger person. You took the time to make the best of that situation, the best possible of that situation. And that much I know for sure.
Yes, for sure. And that's what it is. It's choosing to honor and respect their position. I mean, and that also, is a scripture that my mom used to like to throw at me, as honor your parents, but then also honor those that are in authority, in a position of authority. Yes. As well. Yes. And that is exactly what it is. And you don't have to compete on everything. My daughter-in-law is so like me. It's unreal. My son will say, it's freaky, Mom. Like, she sticks her foot out from the covers just like you do. I mean, there's so many things that she does that's just like me, that I'm like, that is kind of
things that make you go.
I'm very sensitive to her and her feelings. Probably even more so than my daughter, because my daughter and I we are very opposite, but and we clash. We have such a beautiful love relationship, but we have fought it out. And we will continue to, but she's still my best friend, and I'm her best friend. I think she says that. I don't know.
It's true.
But yeah, it's you have to realize that we are not owners of our children. They are a gift to us for a period of time. And we are just blessed to get the opportunity to try to help them to become the people they're supposed to be. I always told my kids now that their kids are getting older, is that the hardest part of parenting for me was when you became an adult, because you were still at the point where you still needed a little guidance, but I kind of had to do it on the down low, because you can't just tell a 20-year-old what to do. You have to give them some idea and say, these are what your options are. Well, what do you think?
Yeah.
And hope and pray that they, choose the right one. I actually call it taxation without representation.
That's a different way to apply that.
Because you still, if they choose wrong, you still are going to be in the mix with them. But you don't get a say. Unfortunately, you still might have to pay in whatever way it is, but you don't actually get a vote on it. So, but
that's true. I never thought about it that way, but it fits. It absolutely fits. It absolutely does.
Well, we have gone over, Lisa. You know that we haven't even got to neighbors.
We have. I think that we can hold for a couple of more minutes because we got started a few minutes late. But I think we should go ahead and address strangers or non-family members just into a group. It could be neighbors, it could be people you meet in the street, people you meet out and about. One final thing I will say about the teenagers, and then we'll move to the strangers. I read an article, and when my kids started acting up, I went into research mode. I read articles, I took classes, I became doctor professor. So I need to make this thing better. So let me find out all that I can. And I saw study after study that said teenagers that are a human brain does not even reach maturity until 25 or later, around age 25 or later. So when you think that 18-year-old who's driving you crazy should know better, not necessarily. I don't care how good of a household he lived in or she lived in, or what the parenting situation was, or what you tried to instill in that person. There's still hormones, immaturity, peer pressure, environment. When I say environment, what's on TV and what's on radio and what's on social media, all of that is in that pot being stirred up like a potion or something. So I did see a very big difference on most of my children after 25. I really did. And I was thought, oh, thank goodness that I read that. So I knew that there was going to be a light at the end of the tunnel. But not everyone. I did have one child, and now Kenneth and I joke like, oh my goodness, who ever thought that this child would be the one that blah, blah, blah. It took him to 35. He was a late bloomer. But I'm so proud of this child now. He's a late bloomer, but he got it. Lord have mercy, he got it. So it's so worth the patience. It's so worth the headache, the heartache, everything that you go through. It's worth it. It is worth it. Be patient. Okay. All right. So now, strangers, non-family members.
Boundaries.
Thank you. Boundaries. You can talk about boundaries. I'm going to say this, and then I'll let you say what you say. The thing is boundaries for yourself. And that means you don't let anyone take you somewhere you don't want to go. You don't let anyone make you do something you don't want to do.
Can't hear you. Can't hear you, Lisa. Okay. Well, while we can't hear Lisa, maybe she'll pop back in. Okay. You're popped out again. Well, while we're waiting on her to pop back in, I'll just say this, is that you don't always know what somebody else is going through too. And that is a big factor in how people actually interact with you. You don't know what they just left home from or what they just experienced or whatever.
Are you back?
I'm back. You're back.
I can see your face, but you were frozen.
I was frozen. Oh, you were frozen.
So okay. Well, we were frozen.
We were frozen together in time.
We were frozen.
I just threw a few things out there saying that, in dealing with strangers, is you never know what they are going through, what they are dealing with at home, that you just happen to step in the middle of this time and this space with them.
That is true. Not just what they're going through at the moment, but you don't know what environment they were raised in. You don't know their past. I'm telling you, I learned this when the term, angry Black woman was being thrown around in the media and in movies and all. And I had to stop and say, nobody is born angry. Okay. Nobody is born nasty. Nobody is born that way. People become that way, and they become that way because of things in their environment. And so once I learned that, it became easier for me to not let them make me act in a way that was contrary to the person I wanted to be. And so in the streets, wherever you are, if you meet someone who is just ugly or who makes you want to act ugly, count to 3, take a breath, and remember who you are and who you want to be. And you'll set a better example for that person. And who knows, you might be the person that helps them to see a better way.
Right.
I'm done.
And one thing I used to tell my clients is that, we get angry not over what someone does or says to us. We get angry over what we believe about what they said or what they did. So we have to look at what our thought process is, what's going on with us, because, for instance, generally, I would hear a lot of complaints of, just words, name calling, and so forth. And you have the choice of just taking the power away from that. I mean, I would use the example of somebody came in the door and just said, "You guys are nothing but a bunch of Buicks." What? That's probably not going to make you mad. Well, I mean, I guess, if you have a, issue with Buicks, but that word being called a Buick does not mean anything to you. But there are words that someone can say to you that mean something, and we all know what they are. Yeah. But if you take the power of that word and you make it null and void for you, and don't even see yourself as a Buick, I don't see myself as this, what you just called me, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't take you anywhere. It's just like, oh, okay, move on.
Just imagine that, they live in a this is what I say. Oh, they live in a parallel universe and they're the only occupant or the only citizen in that universe. I'm not going to visit it with them. Okay. I don't know where I heard that from, parallel universe. We're walking side by side. We're in the same room, but you're in a different universe, boo. So it doesn't work all the time. And it's always going to be a work in progress. We're never going to reach, perfection in this, and whatever it is we're living in. We're not going to reach perfection in this one. But there are some things that we can be striving toward. There are some things that we can be working toward. And there are some parameters that we can put in place in our lives. And I will tell you truthfully, I used to be I had a hair trigger. I mean, I would get mad, fight, fuss, go with you. Okay. But I had to learn that I had to stop and look. He made me do it. She said something. He said, she said, he did, she did. No. I am my own person. I'm not giving anybody that control. I'm not giving anybody that much power. And it is something that you own and nobody can take it away from you. You have to give it to them. You have to give permission. And so I'm still learning, but I've come, as the old commercial say, I've come a long way, baby. Okay, I'm done. I'm glad we went and took it all the way out and finished.
That's something my first mother-in-law said to me, that I was, going through some issues with her son at the time. I mean, yeah. And she said to me, "Do not let my son make you hard." And at that time, I didn't quite understand. Hello, Carolyn. Thank you for joining us. Oh, she's rolling on the floor laughing at us.
She knows some of the backstories, honey.
Okay.
She knew the Lisa with that hair trigger.
Okay.
Carolyn,
I never had a hair trigger, but I had to learn to toughen up. That's for sure, because I was way too, and that's what she saw. She saw that I was just way too not able to stand up for myself and so forth. But she wanted say that to me. Do not let this situation, this person, my son or whoever, change who you are. What is she calling out for you?
You better be quiet. I know your skeleton too, girl. If you dig up mine, I got a shovel. Oh. Oh my goodness. No, thank you for dropping in, Carolyn. But no, seriously, I'm living proof that people can change if they choose to, if they want to, and they choose to. And so that situation applies with difficult people. That sure.
That's the girlfriend policy.
That's right. That's right. So yes, truthfully, if I could change, anybody can change. You hear that all the time, but it's a choice. It is absolutely a choice to learn how to deal with difficult people. And hopefully we've given you a few pointers today that will start you on your way. And you can keep working on it. You just need to start with one or two things. You don't try to change years overnight. You just need to start somewhere. Make a choice and start somewhere, and you'll get there. And we'll be here.
Yes, right? We will be here to tackle the difficult people, the mother-in-law, the teenagers, the salespeople, whatever, with some humor and a little common sense, and almost 60 years of experience.
Experience, yes. Put to good use. Yes.
Yeah. So I guess we have come to the end of another fabulous episode of Coast to Coast Beauty.
Yes. And I will say to the people who are listening, thank you. Please share this if you find some value, or you know someone who might be able to find some value in it. Sharon and I were honored that YouTube chose one of our previous videos to promote without any input from us. And
yes.
We were doing a happy dance. It's like, oh, you need to have a certain number of views in order to, to actually push your YouTube channel. But they came in and found value in it and decided to promote one of our episodes. So hopefully, we're going to keep doing our best to provide great content, usable content. And we appreciate you coming live and all of you who listen to the replay.
Yes, replay viewers, we love you. And still continue to send in your please continue to send in your pictures for what's in your bag. Lisa loves that. And we're keeping the categories the same, so it's still a household product, something sexy within reason, and something that someone else put in your bag. So send in those pictures. We'll be announcing the winner for this month at the end of the month. And I know our last winner has some pictures to post of her winnings. So we're excited about that. So we are having a ball. Lisa and I if you can't tell, we just love spending time together. So you're basically sitting in on one of our little girlfriend chats. So have a great weekend, and we will see you next Friday. We're going to kiss you out. Bye-bye.